Trump's approval rating takes a hit following controversial tax bill passage. President Donald Trump's approval rating has shown mixed but generally negative trends following the passage of his latest tax and spending bill, which was signed into law on July 4. The measure, which includes renewed tax cuts, significant reductions in Medicaid and Medicare funding, and increased support for immigration enforcement, has sparked intense public debate. While the White House celebrates the legislation as a continuation of Trump's 2017 tax agenda, recent polls suggest that the American public is more divided and increasingly critical of the president's performance. Shifting public opinion. 3 major polling organizations, Gallup, Morning Consult, and Rasmussen, released approval data following the bill's passage, and 2 of the 3 show a decline in support for the president. Gallup's poll, conducted shortly after the legislation was passed, reveals Trump's approval rating stands at 38%, with 53% disapproving and 5% uncertain. This is consistent with Trump's historically low numbers at this stage in his presidency. At the 6-month mark of both of his terms, Trump's approval ratings were 38% and 40%, respectively, lower than those of any other contemporary U.S. president since Gallup began tracking such data. Morning Consult, polling between July 3 and July 6, also reported a decline in support. According to their survey of 2,203 registered voters, Trump's approval rating is 45%, with 52% disapproving. This shows a slight downturn compared to earlier summer numbers and indicates that the controversial elements of the tax bill, particularly the reductions in healthcare funding, may be driving disapproval. Only Rasmussen reports, often cited for more right-leaning results, presented a balanced outcome. According to their July 9 poll of 1,500 likely voters, Trump's approval and disapproval ratings are tied at 49%. While this may seem like a positive sign for the White House, the flat line still reflects an electorate deeply divided over the president's actions. Policy backlash and demographic trends. One of the key aspects of the new legislation is its rollback of funding for entitlement programs like Medicaid and Medicare. While fiscal conservatives have long supported cuts to what they view as bloated social programs, these reductions are unpopular with the broader public. For millions of Americans, particularly low-income and elderly individuals, these programs represent essential healthcare lifelines. The decision to cut them has likely contributed to the dip in approval ratings. Moreover, the tax bill extended benefits from the 2017 tax law, which had already been criticized for disproportionately favoring corporations and wealthy individuals. By doubling down on those provisions while cutting public spending elsewhere, the administration risks reinforcing the narrative that its policies favor the elite. The polling also reveals growing dissatisfaction among key demographic groups, most notably Black voters. According to Gallup's latest survey, support for Trump among Black voters dropped from 20% in June to 15% in early July. This 5-point fall may reflect disapproval of both the substance of the legislation and the broader implications of the administration's stance on social programs that disproportionately benefit minority communities. The political consequences. The decline in Trump's approval ratings, even if modest, carries serious implications heading into the 2026 midterms and beyond. While his base remains solid, erosion among independent voters and marginalized communities could make the difference in closely contested districts. Republican lawmakers who supported the bill may now find themselves defending an unpopular vote in their re-election campaigns. From a strategic standpoint, Trump appears to be betting that economic gains from tax cuts will eventually outweigh the immediate criticism. However, that political gamble is complicated by the fact that many of the bill's benefits are not immediately visible to average Americans, while the drawbacks, like healthcare cuts, are more directly felt. Conclusion. Trump's approval rating in the wake of the new tax bill reveals a familiar pattern: a sharp divide between staunch supporters and growing opposition. While Rasmussen's poll offers a more favorable view, the overall trend leans toward disapproval, particularly among independent voters and minorities. The president's team may tout the legislation as another win for economic reform, but early polling indicates that many Americans are not convinced. As the impacts of the bill begin to materialize in the months ahead, public opinion may continue to shift, and not necessarily in the president's favor.